Good evening to one and all. This video is for class 10, absorption by roots. Today's chapter is absorption by roots. So before going to the depth of the chapter, before starting to learn the technical part of the chapter, first we try to understand that what is a root system. The root systems are present under the soil. The root are not at all phototropic, means they are not at all light loving. They are geotropic, means they are ground loving, the soil loving. They will move depth under the soil. They will move to one level of depth to the other level of depth under the soil. Now, there are two basic root systems, namely taproot system and fibrous root system. So we all know from childhood we are learning about roots, that root holds the soil, it prevents soil erosion. Roots allow the plants to grow, though it holds the soil firmly also. Though it holds the soil very much firmly, preventing soil erosion, but also supports the plant to stand erect, to stand tall. So from childhood, some kinds of basic things we are learning about roots. So here, first, before going to the technical part or before going to the base of the chapter, we must have a brief overview on taproot and fibrous root system. Now, what is a taproot system? Taproot system means they will have a main root. The taproot system will always have a main root. Here we can see the taproot means the main root will be there, and from the main root the branches will be coming out. From the main root the branches will be coming out. That is the taproot system. So we can find the taproot system in carrot, radish. So from the main root the branches will come out. The most technical part of the taproot system is, we know the radicle will grow as a root. The premature radicle will mature into root. So this radicle which is growing into root, the taproot will arise from the radicle only. The taproot will arise from the radicle only. And other small minute roots will arise from the main part of the taproot. So this the taproot will consist of one main or primary root and the hair-like structure beside the taproot or the main root. Now, apart from this, whenever we are talking about taproot, the picture must be clear. A main root, and along the sides there will be small minute threads of the root. Now, whenever we are talking about fibrous root system, the fibrous root system is completely different. Why? Because it is growing away from the radicle. It is not growing from the radicle. It is just growing below the stem. So in fibrous, if at all, it's just a roughly picture of taproot. It's roughly a picture of taproot. The fibrous root, let's say this is the soil. So the root will start to grow directly from the here, and over here the plants will be there or trees will be there. Now, this is the fibrous root system. There is no main part like taproot. Taproot is having a main part, and from the main part of the root, the sideways small thread like other roots are growing. But fibrous root, there is no such main part. Whole network of thread will grow under the soil. Whole network of thread will grow under the soil. Taproot main part is there. Fibrous root no main part. Taproot grows from the radicle. Fibrous root will not be growing from the radicle. It will grow directly from the below part of the stem, and it will have a thread-like structure which will grow deeper and deeper into the soil. I hope it is clear till here. Now we will talk about what are the constituents of the root that makes the root so much strong and so much the plant is depending on it. So on being studying about the roots very minutely, what we found is the roots are having very small root hairs. Those root hairs are having vacuoles also. Now, when these roots are deeply embedded into the soil, these roots provides a proper anchorage, means proper support to the plant. So we must understand here, first of all, the function of roots. What are the function of roots? The roots provide support to the plant, first of all. Then the root is absorbing water for the plant. Since the root is absorbing water for the plant, because of that only, that water is mixing up with the mineral and forming the cell sap of the plant. Means cell sap is the mixture of mineral and water. Apart from this, the root is also absorbing the minerals for the plant, so that the plant could continue its metabolism. It can grow throughout the whole life. So these are the functions of root. It will just hold the soil to prevent soil erosion because of excess of water, excess of rainfall, or excess of wind blowing. It can support the soil and it will prevent the soil erosion. Apart from that, the root is holding the plant very much straight and tall so that the plant could not be hampered by the heaviest blow of wind. Even the heaviest blow of wind the plant can sustain if the root of the plant is deeply penetrating. And one more interesting fact, while the plant is growing, its roots are also growing. Means the root will grow deeper and deeper into the soil in the search of water and minerals. So more the plant is aged, the more the plant is strong. Means you can very easily uproot a plant by your hands. But can you uproot a tree by your hand? Never. Why? Because once the plant has grown into a tree, the root has penetrated very much deep under the soil, which is providing a very strong anchorage and support. That's the reason why we cannot uproot a tree. We have to cut a tree. We cannot uproot it, but we can uproot a plant because the roots are not deeply penetrated under the soil. So this much importance the root is having. So we can say the root is the life of the plant. The roots, they are the life of the plant. Now, apart from this, we will also see today about the suitability of the root. How much the root is suitable to absorb water. Now, when we studied the root, we found the minute root hairs present all along the root when it is continuously distributed under the soil. When it is continuously distributed under the soil, these minute root hairs increases the surface area. Now, what is surface area? I am giving you a practical example. Let us take a boiled water. Pour some amount of boiled water in a glass and pour some amount of boiled water in a plate. Now observe which one is getting cool faster. You will find the hot water which was poured on a plate is cooling faster. Why? Because the plate is having an enormous surface area. Similarly, the size of the root hairs are unicellular, single cell only, very much minute. But since they are very much small, but they are numerous. They are lot of in number. They are present in the roots in large number. So what happens is when these minute root hairs present in large number distributing itself under the soil, distributing itself under the soil, they are capturing a heavier surface area in the soil. And this heavier surface area allows maximum absorption of water and minerals. Here the root is supporting the plant like this. Now, when we observed the root hair, we found that the root hair is having semi-permeable membrane. And the root cells are also having vacuoles. Semi-permeable membrane means only selectively it is permeable. Why selectively permeable? Means allowing only few amount of things to pass through. That is, only few amounts of liquid or minerals can pass through. Other than that, it is not possible. Means this root hair is taking water and minerals, and whatever unnecessary things it is not absorbing for the plant. Means it is protecting the life of the plant also. Apart from that, the vacuole present in the root allows a maximum and rapid absorption of water and minerals, so that it could be absorbed and it could be sent upper part of the plants or trees for photosynthesis process. So this is how it is working. So this is just a brief introduction of the root. It is providing anchorage, having semi-permeability, only absorbing water and some selective materials, avoiding all the unnecessary materials. It is having a good vacuole, which is providing a rapid absorption and rapid sending up of the water and the minerals. So these are the few characteristics and a general introduction on the roots. Now, so whenever this, I hope taproot system and fibrous root system is clear, and whatever the introduction I have given for the roots, you can write it down by seeing the video also. Now, next is we will talk about the way the root or the plants are absorbing the things. So we will talk about today 3 ways: imbibition, diffusion, osmosis. Under osmosis, 2 points: endosmosis, exosmosis, and we will also talk about osmotic pressure today. These are the few topics we will be discussing. Apart from this, taproot and fibrous root and a general introduction on roots. Now, when we are talking about imbibition pressure, what is imbibition? Imbibition is a process by the help of which dry seeds or dead things absorbing the water and thereby making the conditions of the cells inside very much tight and turgid. Turgid is a word, yes, turgid. Turgid means a tight condition. Turgid means a tight condition. A tight condition. What happens in imbibition? You can find at your home also, if at all you are having a door of plywood during the rainy season like this weather or humid weather, you can find some at the edges or at the bottom of the door has swelled up. Why? Because it has absorbed enormous amount of moisture and you will feel very much inconvenient to open and close the door. Similarly, in imbibition, what happens? The process by which the dry seeds, colloids or proteins or cellulose, especially the dead things or inactive things, when they are absorbing the moisture, when they are absorbing the moisture and itself become very much tight and rigid, that is imbibition. Now what happens? Once, let's say, a small cell is there and it has imbibed the water. It has imbibed the water means it has absorbed the water by the imbibition process. What will happen to that cell? The cell will become very much tight. The cell will become very much tight. That is known as ambient pressure. Means pressure caused due to the presence of water. How the water has present? How the water has gone inside? Due to the process of imbibition. That's the reason why it is called as ambient pressure. Ambient pressure it is called. Now, this ambient pressure, sometimes it is called as water potential or potential of the matrix. Now, what is matrix? Let me clear you one thing. Inside the cell, either dead or living cell, either the cell is living or the cell is dead. Inside the cell, the free space, the free network of rows and columns inside the living or a dead cell is called as matrix. And when this network of rows and columns are filled with water, that is providing a pressure from inside to outside the cell. Let's say it is a cell and it is having a clear network. So when the water will go inside it, this water will put pressure outside. This water will put pressure outside. That is known as the ambient pressure. So many students may confuse that how imbibition causes pressure. Imbibition actually causes pressure by putting the water inside the dead or the living cells. And when the water went inside, that water will create pressure on the outer part of the cell. So I hope it's clear to you. Now, what are the advantages of imbibition? Imbibition breaks the seed dormancy. What is seed dormancy? When the seed is at the inactive condition, seed is living. I'm not telling seed dormancy means death of seed. Seed is living, but due to inappropriate weather condition, it is maintaining a inactive stage. But when the proper weather condition sets in, it will start absorbing water or moisture from the atmosphere. And now each and every cell will become tight. And finally, it will break the outer covering of the seed, that is known as testa. Now, once the outer covering is broken, what will happen? The seed will start to germinate. Similarly, the imbibition gives a very much tight and turgid condition to the cell, so that the cell will become very much firm and stiff. Apart from that, imbibition also helps to break the dormancy of the seed, I have said earlier, as well as the imbibition will also help in moving the water molecules. From one cell to the other cell, the water molecules will start to move because of imbibition. So these are the advantages, few advantages of imbibition. Now we will talk about diffusion. What is diffusion? The process by which the water or the solvent, okay, one thing we need to clear here, solvent plus solute or solute plus solvent, whatever you say, solvent plus solute is always giving a solution. Solvent plus solute is giving a solution. Solvent plus solute will produce solution. For example, solvent is water, solute is salt. Dissolve salt and water, it will become a solution. Now, Here what happens whenever we are talking about diffusion? Diffusion means movement of water or solvent. Movement of water or solvent. Always solvent will move. Just remember, always solvent will move. Solute are very much macro particles. They are larger in size, they are bigger in size. So solute will not be moving. Only solvent will be moving. Okay, so movement of solvent from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. I repeat, movement of solvent from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration is called as diffusion. Example, take a glass of water, pour some salt into it, dissolve it, the salt will dissolve. Why? What happened? The molecules of water has entered the salt, and now the salt is dissolved. So always the solvent will move. What is the solvent here? Water. What is the solute here? Salt. So always the solvent will move. Means water has moved towards the compound or towards the molecules of the salt, and now the salt is dissolved. Or else in the lab also we can take the potassium permanganate crystals and we can put it into the water. We can see the colorless water will turn into purple color. What happened here? Similarly, the solvent water has moved towards the solute, that is the potassium permanganate crystal, and dissolved it. So there we have to understand, only the solvent will, this is the concept, only the solvent will move. Solute won't be moving because solute are macro particles. Solvent are much smaller than the solute. So solvent plus solute forms the solution. Now, so whenever we are talking about diffusion, means movement of water from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration is called as diffusion. Now, apart from diffusion, so whenever we spoke about diffusion. Now, apart from diffusion, we need to understand what is the advantage of diffusion. What is its advantage? The transpiration occurs due to diffusion. The movement of food particles from one cell of the plant to the other cell due to diffusion. Take a perfume in the practical life. Take a bottle of perfume without spraying it. If at all it is having spray, it is completely sealed. Or else take a take a bottle of natural perfumes. What we call it the Icse also. Those Icse bottles. You just open those bottles and keep it at the corner of the room. You can find after 15-20 minutes the whole room will be aromatic. Why? Because that is the diffusion. The solvent was that Icse bottle, and the solute is the air particles. Now the solvent moves from its higher concentration to the lower concentration. In the bottle, the Icse is at much quantity, so it is higher concentration. And in the environment, the air molecule, there is no Icse in the air molecule, so automatically it will start to evaporate from the corner of your room to the whole environment present in the room. So you will get the good aroma of the Icse. So that is what the diffusion. So transpiration occurs due to diffusion. Okay, movement of food from one part of the plant or one part of the cell to the other part of the cell, that is occurring due to diffusion. So movement of the water or the solvent from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration is always considered as diffusion. So I hope you can understand this. Now, next is osmosis. What is osmosis? Movement of water molecules or solvent from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration across the semi-permeable membrane. Now, see, both the definition were same, but here the semi-permeable membrane came. Where? In osmosis. There is no semi-permeable membrane utilization, or there is no semi-permeable membrane in diffusion. But in osmosis, there is semi-permeable membrane. So the movement of molecules from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, or solvent or water from its higher concentration to lower concentration, is called as osmosis across the semi-permeable membrane. But when we are saying, so if at all they are asking what is osmosis, you just wrote that movement of molecules or solvent or water from its region of higher concentration to lower concentration. 100% wrong, because you are not using the word semi-permeable membrane. Because diffusion does not have any semi-permeable membrane. Osmosis process do require a semi-permeable membrane. So movement of molecules from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration across the semi-permeable membrane is osmosis. Now, where is osmosis applied? Where we can find the process by which the water is absorbed by the roots, osmosis. Then the opening and closing of stomata. When the guard cell is turgid, when the guard cell is tight, stomata opens. When the guard cell is flaccid, opposite of turgid is flaccid. Flaccid means non-rigid condition. You can write non-rigid condition. That is flaccid condition. So, opposite of turgid is flaccid. At the night time, the guard cells are flaccid. So, no opening of stomata. Stomata will never open that time. So, osmosis is also having utilization, absorbing of water, minerals, as well as opening and closing of stomata. So osmosis occur due to osmosis only transpiration and photosynthesis is regulated, because if osmosis process is not there, then automatically there will be neither closing nor opening of the stomata. If nothing happens, then no transpiration, no photosynthesis, plant will die ultimately. Now, here comes the two things, the endosmosis and exosmosis. Now, before just understand the definition first, then I will give a practical example. Endosmosis means the water from outside will enter the cell. Endosmosis. Exosmosis, water from inside the cell will move out. Exosmosis. The best example, take some resins. Take 5 or 6 resins and drop it into a normal water. You will find the next day itself, or within few hours itself, you can find that the resins has swelled up. It will look like grapes, not grapes absolutely, but it will look like grapes. Completely it will be swelled up because you have put it into the normal water. How? Here the outer skin of the grapes acted as a semi-permeable membrane. Outer skin of the grapes acted as a semi-permeable membrane, and water from its higher concentration, means from outside, entered to the lower concentration, that is inside. Endo means moving inside. Endo means inside, means water from outside moves inside. Endosmosis. Now exosmosis, how? Water from outside, or solvent, or molecules, or water or solvent moves from outside to inside. Exosmosis. From inside to outside. Endosmosis, from outside to inside the cell it will move, but exosmosis, from inside the cell it will move outside. Exosmosis, out. Ex means out, endo means in. Endo means in, outside to inside. Exosmosis, inside to outside. Take that grapes again, 5 or 6, and in a half glass of water at least add 15 spoons, 15 spoons of salt. Now the salt is at a higher concentration. Inside the grapes more salt will be there. You can find after a day, after 24 hours, you can find the size of the grapes has been reduced. The size of the grapes has been reduced, which is a pure example of endosmosis and exosmosis. Again, here the outer skin of the grapes acted as a semi-permeable membrane. Inside the grapes there were higher quantity of water. Outside the grapes less quantity of water. So water moved from inside to outside. That is exosmosis. So here we can write endosmosis, outside to inside. Exosmosis, inside to outside. Inside to outside. Exosmosis means going out. Endosmosis coming in. Now, apart from this, today we will also talk about the osmotic pressure. Now, what is osmotic pressure? Osmotic pressure is the pressure, the minimum pressure required to prevent osmosis. And that can be done by increasing the solute concentration in the solution. For example, in a solution there is 80% solvent and 20% solute, osmosis will take place. But now let's say I have prepared a solution where there is 60% solute, let's say 60% solute and only 40% solvent. Then that is highly concentrated solution. And if at all we are putting 90% solute and only 10% solvent, now in that condition what will happen? Osmosis will be restricted. Means osmotic pressure is the minimum pressure required so as to restrict the process of osmosis, that is known as osmotic pressure. Minimum pressure required, or minimum pressure required, yes, of course, minimum pressure required to restrict the process of osmosis is called as osmotic pressure. And that minimum pressure can be attained by increasing the solute concentration in the solvent. Let's say 90 gram of salt and only 10 ml of water. Highly concentrated solution, osmosis won't be taking place. But when it is 50-50, a small amount of osmosis may take place. But osmotic pressure only we can see when a solution is separated. When a solution is separated by a semi-permeable membrane. Let's say in a funnel you have kept salt, you have kept a solution of salt water and outside only water. Then you can see osmosis is happening. But now slowly if at all you are increasing the concentration, then you can find no, not at all the presence of osmosis there. So minimum pressure required to restrict the process of osmosis is called as osmotic pressure. If any doubts, you can ask. I hope the things are clear to you. If any doubts, you can ask. Go through the video, match it with your text. Thanks a lot.